All right, it's our bonus episode. We're doing it again. It's that time of the week. Well, it's every other week. So this week we're going to be talking about the Steve Harvey Monique conversation. I guess Monique was on Steve Harvey's show. Do you remember? Yeah, you watched it. I read it. Yeah. And
you read about it? Yeah.
Yeah, I read about it. Basically, Monique has been talking about unfair pay and unfair treatment
Monique's being difficult.
Yes. Yeah, she's being a very difficult black woman. And then Steve Harvey had, because I guess they had beef, but they didn't really, because she said, no, I respect him, he respects me. But she was on his show, and I guess Steve Harvey was pleading or asking her to kind of like reel it in, play the game.
Can you behave? Stop, Can
you? So my thing about my thing about this whole conversation is the word game. So like, okay, I'm gonna let's start the clock now. Okay, so how did you feel about that conversation?
I think I took that conversation. It was personal for me because it reminded me of every time my dad and I got into had the argument of, he take position of, this is the game you have to play, and I'm like trying to say, I get it, but I'm trying to I want to keep it real. I want to not keep it real, but I want to do something different, right? I want to be the greater. I'm trying to be the greater fool. I don't know if that's a known term there, right? But yes, I understand that I'm breaking the rules. I understand that I'm not conforming, but there's actually logic to what I'm trying to do. And my dad never saw it like that. He's the older gentleman. I'm the young one. And it's black folks have been having that debate forever. The young and the old. Is
there a fear of being left behind? Like there's a fear of being ostracized from the system, of course, but there's also a fear of being left behind. It's like, in a way, it's like, oh, don't. But I think it's also like there's a level of self-respect in this too.
Yeah.
There's a level of like when I said keep in mind the game that they're talking about playing in this world, and if we're gonna use it's the same game that enslaved us. It's the same game that it made blackface and Jim Crow. That's the same game that they're talking about. You got to play this game.
Yeah.
You gotta play this game. And I think here's my thing. I understand Steve Harvey's side where it's like, I get that if you're an individual and you're a black person and you feel it's too much for you, because I'm not going to use scared, because I think it might be fear, but it's also understandable not to want to create ripple. My problem is people who get mad at Monique for doing it.
Right.
It's like, why are you mad? Like, why are you upset? She's not asking you to do it.
That whole conversation between the two, I felt like telling Steve, she understands what you're saying.
Yeah.
She gets it. She's trying to say, okay, she gets it, but she's after something different. And I wish he could take the time to say, okay, like, or either I get it, or have a agree to disagree moment. I get it. Wish you luck. I'm not gonna talk down to you. I respect your hustle.
My problem is if you're gonna be upset with Monique for doing this, then don't be upset with blackface when they come out when Gucci comes out with that blackface thing. Because that's the game. It's the same thing. They don't see us. It's white capitalism does not see us as value unless we're in prison or unless we're slaved, which basically is prison. Unless you can bring money, we have no value. And a black woman talking her truth has no value. A black woman has no value, but a black woman talking her truth has less value, is what they're saying.
Okay, first of all, I want to say, fuck money, fuck Floyd, money Mayweather, fuck that nigga. Anyways, because he's like, he dissed the boycott Gucci movement.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
He's an idiot. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, anyways, he's just an idiot.
Going back to that Monique interview, right?
Yeah.
What I love is how calm she remains.
She's always calm. She's always calm. She's always like dealing with it like in a respectful, but she does make her points.
She makes her point. Yeah. But you can tell she's a passionate woman that she wanted to. I'm gonna rip this dude's throat out, but she had to stay calm, and I can tell that she's doing it like technically she's playing the game in the sense that I have to remain calm, or else I'm gonna spend the rest of my battle of this fight explaining to people that no, I'm not being difficult. No, I'm not being difficult. I'm not. Basically, she's behaving the way men wish women would talk about rape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just calm down. Could you
just like, can you not make this hard for me?
Exactly.
It's also like, I had a point, but the idea that I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, she's rich, so she doesn't represent me," and it's like, well, no, actually, a rich person or someone in power going against the system is actually what you need. You need people in power to go against the system. That actually, because it causes people, if people see it and people talk about it. A poor person going against the system, nobody gives a fuck because they're not because they have no value in the system. So Monique has some capital in the system, and so when people are like, she doesn't represent me, I don't make that. And it's like, shut up. I question people who are angry at her.
Right.
Because that's a reflection of themselves, right? Like if you're angry at this woman, if you're angry at Monique for because she's saying this stuff, if you're angry at it, that's an emotion you're using, and basically you're angry at yourself. You're angry at not. I was talking about this to my wife about comedy, and when I was in the Hamilton comedy scene, a lot of comics would get mad at me or labeled me like difficult. Because because we'd play rooms and the rooms were horrible. The audience members would talk and yell or disrespect us, and I would call them out on it. And the comics, a lot of the comics would get mad at me or pull me aside and be like, "Why are you doing that? You react to anything, and it's like you're doing that because you have no self-worth. So you think these people are good enough to be around."
Yes.
And so you're mad at me because I'm, pardon the word, but I'm uppity and I have self-worth in myself. And so you're looking at me going, why does this guy think he's better than this? And that's what's happened with Monique. Monique, why do you think you're better than this?
Yes, yeah.
How come you don't know your place?
How to come, now, and this is the part that I think a lot of human beings can relate to, especially if you have that kind of personality. Mm-hmm. I grew up being the passive guy. That was, don't make any waves, shut the fuck up, go along.
Which I understand. I understand that point of view.
That was the beginning, right?
I get it. I get why people do that.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people who can relate with that sentiment. And then at some point, your inner voice kicks in and says, you know what? I have a right to exist. Mm-hmm. I have a right to say no when I don't,
Yep. I deserve more.
I deserve. So, which is why I've learned to respect, appreciate people who speak their mind, especially when they're going to get shitted on for it. Like, even if I don't agree with you, right? Even if okay, you know what? The only exception are racist people. They're fuck y'all. Speak your mind. But even if I don't agree with you, I respect your right to hustle for it. So in the case of Monique, right, the question we should be asking, I remember you wrote this. You said, like, what's happening to Monique?
Yeah.
Everyone telling her to stay in her lane. And, like, is that not how change works?
Yeah.
And it's something you asked, and I know it was a rhetorical question, but I put it, instead of asking why she won't conform, why aren't we asking, does she have a valid point?
Yeah.
So let's take it from there. And if she does, let her fight for it. Let her go
well,
for
it. It is a valid point because value in this system is imaginary. It's made up. Mm-hmm. Money's made up. The value of her is made up. It's all made up. It's all someone decided that she's worth this much because of whatever. It's all made up. Yeah. And the thing with when you're black is that inherently in this system means you have less value. But that's why there's two. That's why there were, for the longest time, I don't know if it still is, there were two comedy systems. There was the black system and it was segregated. The comedy clubs were segregated. And the black system, you had to become a real good comic, you had to be able to play the white clubs. And to deny that being black gives you less value in the system is horseshit. So that it's a made up system. Because she's black, she's already has less value. Because she's a woman, she has less value. And she decided, well, no, I want more value.
I want more value. I agree.
And in a system that has decided what value is on a person. I say abolish it all. I think we shouldn't be putting value on humanity or art. But whatever, that's me. I say take all that away, because that's where we get people starving and people not being able to, anyway. But that's a different conversation. I just have a problem with people being mad about it. Just you're angry that she decided she's challenging the system. That's fucking just okay. Then it's not you. But people get upset that they're being left behind. Argument I always see, and it's always like when someone's complaining about, say, like a transgender being called by the proper pronouns or something. They're always they're always saying argument I had with someone about how good ideas always win out. The marketplace of ideas, which is another example of value on ideas, which is stupid. Because it's not a value of a moral value. It's based on popularity. But anyway,
right.
So I had a debate with someone who was like, well, we should let Nazis talk because a marketplace of ideas, the better idea wins out, which is horseshit. That's not how things work. And the person look at the civil rights, right? That worked out, and they always use this. It worked out. It's no, you had people like Monique. You had people like Martin Luther King who people hated and shot in the head who made change. It wasn't everyone decided one day, you know what? We should let black people vote. We shouldn't terrorize black people. That just didn't happen. People fought for that shit.
Exactly. Someone had to stand out.
Right.
Someone had to make noise. Someone had to say, hey, this is bullshit.
People's memories are short.
Very much so.
Short. And and for black people, it's just that's a symptom of low self-esteem. To be mad at Monique, to not do what Monique does, that's a different conversation. That's, to me, that's I understand if you can't do that or you don't want to do that. I completely get it. You talk about being at work and stuff. You gotta code switch.
Yeah, agree.
I completely get it, but I wouldn't be. Why are you mad at Monique for?
Right.
Why aren't you mad at the white people who are controlling our careers?
What's interesting is that this black dude that I used to work with, and this is in my office job, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember when we were talking, he just immediately get it. He goes, we know as black people, we gotta look out for each other. We can't afford to, this is the part I understand. Don't make other black people look bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your boss says, hey, you're late, start showing up on time. Start acting right? Because we know that if you fuck up, it all falls on all of us.
That's horseshit.
It's horseshit.
That's horseshit.
Fair.
That's horseshit.
I'm like a motherfucker. Oh yeah, no. White people get to be individuals. No, we have to. Basically, for him, we play the game until we don't have to anymore. That's what I'm trying to say.
But see what that does? That creates problems amongst each other. That keeps us fighting each other. Because no one's perfect. People show up late. White people show up late all the time. What happens is white people are lazy at work all the time, just like everyone else. And what happens is then you fuck up or he fucks up and one of you is mad at the other guy or it's a you and him situation against each other. We have to change that mentality of
I agree.
Don't judge me on that. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Challenge them on that shit. If I want to be lazy, if I don't want to show up, that's not a reflection of black people. That's called racism.
That's called Oh man, yo, I had actually I have a joke about that. How my first black boss, and it was a big deal for me. I was ready, yo, dude. I make you look good. You make me look good. Even if he was what do you call him, a slave driver?
Yeah,
kind of shit like that. As long as these guys are exemplary employees.
Yeah,
I'm willing to do that. Yo, this motherfucker was an asshole, man. When I say an asshole, just a bad boss.
Yeah.
Not he was qualified, but he was like micromanager.
Yeah, he didn't know how to deal with people.
Basically, all that. That's when I'm like, okay, fuck that. I'm not playing the game with him, man. I'm joining these white folks to get him fired.
That's the thing. There's like this respectability politics is like pull up your pants and shit. It's like, well, fuck. That's not going to solve the problem.
Yep.
There's a bigger issue in it. This game of why are we playing the same game that white people have put on us?
Yeah, my theory is I think since slavery, we've taken upon ourselves the responsibility of getting white people to not hate us.
Yeah.
Like it's our responsibility to act right, to not make them angry, to not make them shoot us.
That's a low self-esteem tactic.
That's a very low self-esteem.
And that's the same thing with Monique. It's like, oh, you're gonna mess up these are multi-millionaires, billionaires. You need to. Oh, well, let her.
You know what I mean? Like,
you don't have to jump in and say, like, why is Whoopi Goldberg? Why does Steve Harvey have to say something?
Yo, I mean, respect the ladies' hustle. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. If you don't understand it, then don't talk about it.
Hey, it's not my It's not my hustle, but I respect Monique. That's all you have to say. I respect her as a person. You don't even have to co-sign on it. See, that's the problem. Is there's a thing like we share a struggle, and then so. If you're not, it's this idea like of blackness being revoked. It's like this. That's one of the hard. Like I'm writing this joke about how like if there's parameters in being black from black people and white people. If I don't act like that, and I'm not black. But if I'm white and I don't act white, I'm cool. Right? Like if I don't act like a white guy when I'm a white guy, I'm cool. So so it's like you can't lose as a white guy, right? It doesn't matter. Be whatever you want. You're free. And what we do is like we decide, okay, like even I'm for black conservatives. Just don't deny racism because that's not a conservative or do whatever you want to fucking do.
Yeah.
But my problem is this idea of blackness and what Steve Harvey is like, hey, you're making us look bad because we're not speaking out on this shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So shut the fuck up. You're making us look like coons in this.
That whole interview. That's what you're making us.
You're making us look bad. And the thing is like you don't have to play that game, Steve Harvey.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be who you want to be, and we need to let go of that shit and stop letting the struggle either define us or what white people think we should be.
Hey, yo, you know what kills me is how if Steve Harvey was on this podcast, not that he would, right? How he would dismiss us as, okay, you niggers don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've been in the business.
Steve Harvey would use appeal to authority. He'd be like, I'm in the business, I'm older, or I'm American and you're Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Harvey would do that shit. But but that's it. They have to say something to her because she's a successful black woman. She's a successful black person, close or on their level, and it's like they're worried people are going to look at them and go, "Well, how come you're not saying shit?" Mm-hmm. Look at Colin Kaepernick. Look how many fucking football players went after Colin Kaepernick. That fucking dogfighter, Michael Vick. Like he needs to shut the fuck up, and all those people.
Come on, man.
It's Michael like why do you care? And it's not that they care that you're gonna mess the game up for me. It's that you're gonna mess the game up for me for black people. Because you know what they always attack Colin Kaepernick? He's not black. I heard a lot of that. He's not black.
People are saying that?
Yeah, a lot of Michael Vick and all those people. He's like, I grew up in the hood. They take away his black cred. I grew up in the hood. He didn't, and it's all this stuff where it's like, what does that have to do with him fighting for equality, for racial? Like, who cares if you grew up in the hood? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. You know, I remember they did that to Obama too.
Right.
He's not really black. He's black, but not black like us.
Because it puts their black card in question.
There we go. The ideal, what we're going after, I'm going to say a controversial statement. What we're going after is, ideally I'm hoping that one day I don't have to be black. I don't have to hang out with some of these niggas that I don't. I have to hang out with black dudes, black folks that I don't like. go to your churches and shit. Like, I could just be a freaking individual.
Yeah.
And play. I was gonna say Pokemon. I don't play Pokemon, but you know what I mean.
I want to be mediocre white.
You know what I mean?
I want to be able to go to work and like half-ass it, and then still be on the same level of every other white dude.
Agreed. Yeah.
I want to be mediocre white. Mediocre white is the dream. Your mediocre white man thinks he's amazing.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
I would love to be a mediocre. I would. That's the dream, is to just be mediocre, and then. Yeah, what the fuck? Why am I responsible for a dude who shows up late to work and shit? Like, I'm not responsible. I don't care.
I know, eh?
And I'm also not bringing the fucking struggle to work when defend this motherfucker. I don't care.
Yeah.
I got to make a living. I got to get the fuck out of here. I used to, when I worked in a factory, I was in charge of a line, and this guy kept showing up late, and I'm like, black dude, and I gave him a couple of shots, and then I was like, he's fucking, I got to work harder now.
Yeah.
So then I started complaining I'm like, hey, he's not showing up. Because he's putting the work on me now.
I understand. No, I fully understand. I just understand the repercussion you must have gotten for that.
Oh, no one gave a fuck. Because I'm a man. What's the word? I'm on an island. I am by myself. I'm not in the black coalition. I'm not in the white. I'm in because I don't give a fuck. I hate people equally.
Equally.
I hate people. The Amber Alert was a perfect example of how people suck.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
For real,
I just people are just shitty altogether. But I will fight for people's rights, and I'll fight for people to be treated equal. I'll fight for all that. But people individually, I don't give a fuck about.
Real quick, for the people not in Ontario, we got an Amber Alert, and it was late, and some motherfuckers called 911 to complain about the Amber Alert.
Yeah,
what the fuck? And they ended up finding the little girl
because dead. She was murdered by her father.
By her father.
Yeah.
But these motherfuckers. Yeah, man, could y'all, send this Amber Alert, while I'm
just reaching for reasons to complain about. I said to one dude, I just because I saw him post 3 different arguments on 3 different, and I'm like, oh, you just want to. I'm like, congratulations, you made a child murder about yourself.
Right.
Say no, I'm talking about the. Blah, blah. I'm like, no, you think you're talking about blah blah blah, but I've seen your multiple posts about different arguments. You just made it about you.
It's like people like that. Pick a side. Man.
Yeah,
pick a side.
It's like, why am I?
Be an asshole. Be an asshole. Just don't fucking.
You're an adult, right? You'll catch up on your sleep. Fuck. Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow, that shit needed to come out. All right, yeah. But so so on my side, power to Monique.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
You know what I mean? I think that's a generational fight. Like, she's gonna have to pass the baton to the next.
That's what she keeps talking about. She's like, I'm doing this for the young girl. Monique knows where her career's at, and she knows. That's the thing. She's fully aware of her choices. She's fully aware of the consequences of those choices. So I don't understand why people need to sit. Like, she's gone crazy. Like, she's just she's Yosemite Sam going on these talk shows and shooting guns in the air.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
She's fully aware of her choice. She has agency, and she understands what she's doing. And what I don't understand is why people you need to calm down. You're making us look bad. And it's like, no, you feel bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't break my heart because she's still doing it. She doesn't give a fuck.
She doesn't give a fuck. I know.
I mean, we talked about Monique before. I had a different stance, and now I'm like, I don't understand why people are upset with her.
Right.
And but then giving Liam Neeson a pass. It's just fucking Monique needs to shut the fuck up. But Liam Neeson, at least he was telling his truth.
He's so brave.
He's such a brave, what a brave man.
Let that shit marinate. Yo, repeat that. We're mad at Monique, but we're giving Liam Neeson a pass.
Yeah, we're giving Liam Neeson.
We're
saying Liam. Oh, at least he told the truth.
Yeah.
And then she tells her truth, and people fucking want to shut her down.
Exactly.
Fuck, we're such hypocrites. Before we, I guess we're kind of done. Before we end, I just wanted to give a shout out to Luke Alberton, who is this week's ally. I got into an argument on Facebook, and Luke came in with some fucking thoughtful points. He got my back, which rarely happens, and I mean, outside of black people, usually you get my back. But yeah, Luke or Kenny Ron. But this time as a white dude came in, and I really appreciated it. And yeah, so I think we need to shout out to allies.
I mean, welcome to the cookout.
Yeah, welcome to the cookout.
I think we should do. I think for us in Canada, we should do welcome to Carnival. You know what I mean?
Yes, like welcome. That's ours.
I invite you to Caravan.
Yes,
you know what I mean. That means you're a cool.
Yeah, you can get on the float for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah,
welcome
Luke.
To the Carnival.
Luke, thanks for listening to the podcast, and thank you for being an ally. That was cool. Yeah. All right. This was a good one. I enjoyed this.
Beautiful.
All right. This is it. I'm stopping.
Hit stop.